I'm Santa Roger, and here is Mrs. Claus.
Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all again. We've got another real treat for you today. You know, last week, Santa said he was going to teach you how to make donuts. Well, donuts are so good, but they're kind of complicated to make. So I told him that he needed to practice so I could get a taste of them before we do this today. So, he did. He made a practice batch a few days ago, and they were delicious. So today he gets to teach you how you can make your very own donuts.
That's right, donuts. Now, the thing about donuts, it's going to take us about 3 hours, but most of that is just letting the dough rise and stuff like that. So this won't be for 3 hours. Let's review a little bit about what we've done so far. Now, the first week, what we did, we made, you remember? We made brownies. And what did you learn about brownies? You learned that brownies were so easy that all you've got to do in it, and if you're little ones, your mama can read their mom or dad, who's ever helping you, can read the directions. But remember, you could take the brownies and you could put in candy bars. You could put all sorts of things. You could put in M&Ms. And once you have those if you know how to make brownies, then you can make cakes or anything that has a box. Well, next week we did pizza, and wasn't that fun? And you learned that, you know, you can make your own pizza. And besides pizza, we learned we could fold it over, make calzone, and we could make our own hot pockets, and we made pinwheels. So there's all sorts of things that we found out that we could do with the pizza dough. Well, the next thing we did mac and cheese. And the same thing, we found out that with mac and cheese, you can put wieners, you can put it in just stovetop, or you can bake it. So all sorts of things we can do with mac and cheese. And last week, we learned how easy it was to make those chicken nuggets. And we learned the nice thing about chicken nuggets is that we know we're getting real chicken meat. And also, we found out the different kinds of sauces that we could do it. Well, let's get started with the donuts. But again, before we start doing anything cooking, what do we need to do, Mrs. Claus?
We need to wash our hands with lots of sudsy soap.
We need to wash our hands with lots of sudsy soap. Oh.
What song are you going to sing today, Santa?
Jingle bells. All right, get this up here. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. All right. Our clean. We'll wipe our hands off.
You've got Christmas trees on your towel.
Oh, I sure do. Okay, let's see what we have here. All right, so to make donuts, the first thing we need to do is we need some flour. We have about 2 cups of flour. Now we're going to have about 1/3 cup of sugar and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And the secret ingredient, about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. You don't need very much, but it's got a good taste to it. Now we've got a package of yeast, which is about 2 1/4 teaspoons. We've got 2 tablespoons of melted shortening. We could use melted butter. It's the same thing. And we have 1 egg. Okay, the first thing we need to do is
What's in the big measuring cup?
I said this is my milk.
Oh.
That's the milk. And we want this milk, we need to get this milk just a little bit warmer. So let's put it in the microwave, okay? We'll put it in the microwave. And remember who remembers why we need more milk? All right, Sally, what's that? Yes, you're right, because we want this yeast to work. Good job, Sally. Miranda, you knew the answer too, didn't you? All right. Let's see. So we'll put the yeast right in here. And we'll let that set. And it's a pretty good idea to stir it up. Okay, we'll be back in a, all right. Again, when we put the yeast in a warm water or warm milk, in this process, we call that proofing the yeast. If you take a look, this is actually a chemical reaction, and this helps form carbon dioxide. All those little bubbles are carbon dioxide. Okay, now what we're going to do, we'll set that over here, and we've got our flour, and we've got our sugar, and we have our salt, little NaCl, and the secret ingredient, nutmeg. Now, if you don't have nutmeg, it's okay, but it tastes pretty good. Okay, now what we're going to do is slowly, we're going to add this without making a mess. Because these are dry ingredients, I can just put them all in there. And it's not going to make any difference. There we go. Good to the last molecule. All right. Now we're about medium. We're just going to mix that up just to get the salt, the sugar, nutmeg, and flour all mixed up. And this doesn't take very long, because all we want to do is just make sure that all these are combined.
And you could have done that with a spoon, couldn't you?
I sure could have. You could do this with a spoon. All right. We'll let that go about another 10 seconds. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the liquid ingredients. And we'll do that real slow. And it really doesn't matter which order you put them in. You know, I'm going to put in the egg. And we'll let that get mixed up. Then we'll put in the melted, again, it could be melted shortening or melted butter.
Can you use oil?
Yes, actually, matter of fact, you could. And then finally, our yeast and the milk. Okay, now what we're going to let this do is go for about a medium speed. All right. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to remove this. Easier said than done.
Get a spatula.
Yeah, sometimes just these are clean fingers. I've washed them clean, and we're going to be heating this, so this is still safe.
Every molecule.
Every molecule may okay, and we'd save this for the dog if we had one, but we don't have a dog, so.
We have reindeer.
All right. Now, what I'm going to put here now is called a dough hook. And well, I got to do it right. We got to be smarter than the machine. So we'll put this in here. Then we'll put in the dough hook.
Yes, you do. Now, Santa, if you don't have a machine that has a dough hook, what do?
I'll show you that. That's a good question. Okay, now, this process is called kneading. K-N-E-A-D. So guess what?
You need to knead.
I was supposed to be my joke, need to knead. Okay, so what we do. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to show you what happens if you don't have a dough hook. Well, what you do is I have some dough that I've already, it's just like the dough It's just like the dough in the machine. Okay, so what we're going to do is just get a little bit of flour. All right. Now, the question you might ask, why do we have to knead? Well, here comes today's chemistry lesson. What happens is that in flour, there are two protein molecules. You don't have to pronounce them, but they're gluten and sort of gluten and glutan. But anyway, what happens, those two, when they're mixed with flour and water, milk, they form gluten. All right. Now what gluten is, it's a molecules, but all of these gluten molecules, they're all tangled up. Just imagine a ball with a whole bunch of gluten molecules all twisted around. So why is gluten important? Remember our yeast? What do we say yeast does? It makes carbon dioxide. And in your bread, when you start cooking it, these bubbles, they like to rise. They like to rise. Up, pop! Because they're not very strong. So they pop. But guess what? When you get these gluten, then these gluten can sort of like come around and they protect the little CO2 so when the bubbles don't break. But what happens, as long as a gluten is like this, they're like, they're asleep, they don't want to do anything. So what we got to do is stretch. We want these gluten molecules to be straight, just like that. So when they're straight like that, it's very easy for them to attach to the carbon dioxide. So here's how we knead. We just push, pull, then we turn it like this, and do the same thing, and turn it around, fold it over like this. And you do this, unfortunately, about 5 or 10 minutes, but hey, you can just take out all your secret aggressions and when it gets real, like I say, after about 5, 8, 9 minutes of just doing this, I'll guarantee you it's going to be fine. So we'll come back and we'll let this go for about 7 or 8 minutes, and we'll see you back about 8 minutes our time. Okay, I noticed it was really sticky on the bottom, so I added just about a teaspoonful of flour. You don't want to add too much flour because this is sticky, but then you just, or maybe once. This has been about 4 minutes, so I'm just going to brush down the side just a little bit, just to get it. This is working pretty well. Okay, we got about another 3.5 minutes to go. Okay, it's been about 8 minutes, so I think we're finished. All right, so it's pretty well kneaded. All right, now this dough is going to be pretty sticky, but we don't want to put any excess flour, so we can just use a little bit of oil. All right, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm getting this, and then all of this is used. Just get all the dough. And it's fairly sticky, and that's good. Okay? Now, I'll just okay. Now what I'm going to do is, it doesn't need much. I just put a little oil down here so it, again, we don't want flour. There we go, see how easy that is. And then we just don't do too much. Just sort of, just round it up. That's about all it needs. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let it rise. So we spray our in a nice warm place. And we're going to cover it with a little plastic wrap. plastic wrap here. And there we go. Okay, now this can take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, and the reason you can tell, it'll double in size. Now you want this in a nice warm place, but not too hot. Now what I did, so since I needed this for 8 minutes, so when there's 5 minutes to go, I turned on my oven on bake to 170 degrees. All right, and then as soon as I quit kneading, I turned the oven off. So that gives it a chance to cool off. So now we'll put it in a warm place, and we'll let this rise for, well, we'll check hour and a half. Well, it's been about 1 hour and 40 minutes, so take a look at this. Can you get a little closer here? See, that is just almost perfect.
Woo-hoo.
And there, it's coming back. Okay, now next thing we do is we just roll it out. Okay, and just going to take a little flour. It really doesn't need very much. Okay, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little flour on it just so it doesn't stick. Okay, now next thing we're going to do is we're going to roll this out till it's about a 1/2 inch thick and just sort of make a square out of it.
And you do that right on your countertop.
Yeah, that's right. This is a granite countertop, so I can use this. But if you don't have a granite top, then you probably just want to use a cutting board. It would work. Okay, let's see how this is. It's about a 1/2 inch. Okay. Now, next thing I'm using here is just a cookie cutter. You could use a lid. You could just use anything. Just put a little flour on it.
You could use a glass.
You could use a glass. And we just start cutting. And then we'll just go 2, 3, 4. As you can see, this is time consuming, but it's not difficult. I mean, your kids, hey, you kids, you can even do this part of it. And I just that's just how easy it is. Okay, now what's a donut without a hole? I'm just using this, and this is just about 1.5 inches. You have 1.5 inches or 1 inch. We'll just go like this, and then just put a little like this. Like, oh, look at that! Look how easy that is.
What happens if you don't get it right in the middle?
Then you won't be able to enter the Food Network cooking contest, but they're going to taste just the same, just as good. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is just put them on the parchment paper, and I'll just use a little. You could use oil. I just use it just so they don't stick. They're not going to stick too much anyway, but they just okay. And now,
What if you don't have parchment paper?
wax paper would work. And bottom line is they probably would still work on the paper if you use lots of oil on it. You know, it looks a little wide, but it's going to be all right. Just make sure. Okay, we'll come back and get all these done, okay?
Ready.
Okay, as you can see, that was the first batch, but this dough is very easy to work with. So all we gotta do is just sort of a couple of times like this, and it's not gonna hurt it anything. See, and we have almost the same amount of dough left. And then we can just roll it out again. Okay, 1/2 inch. Okay, I'll try it again. And I'll just do a couple of these. Now, one thing we're going to do is Mrs. Claus really likes maple bars.
Oh, yes.
You like maple bars? Okay, as you see, we're saving the donut holes for the kids. They can do that. We'll cook those along with it. Okay, now let me get my...
What are you getting?
I'm just getting something to cut the dough so we can do some square doughs. So we'll make our maple bars. Yeah, it looks like a good maple bar right there. We'll make a big maple bar. So this will be maple bars. The maple bar here. And we've got a maple bar here.
What'd you do with the oven?
Okay, I just warmed it up to about 170 so that, because again, these are going to have to rise for a few minutes. Okay, we'll do one more. Maple bar. And let's see, oh, we can do like this. Just take this and we'll just roll it out again. These are still going to taste just as good. I'll show you what I'm going to do with this one. Roll it out. Let's cut this about like this. And we'll cut this about like this. I'll cut this one about like this. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just take these, and then we'll just do a twisty. Those are, people like those too. See how that easy that is? Just twist it around like that. There we go. Twist again like we did last summer. Just twist, oh, most of you too young to know that, okay? Okay, and we'll just roll that, and we'll just see how easy we're doing this. Again, just the same thing. We'll just twist these around. Oh, look how easy that is. This is going to twist this around, twist it around, twist it around. Okay, now everything left over, donut holes. Everybody likes donut holes. And we'll just put these around like this. Put some over here. Here and here. See how easy this is? Whoops. See, there's really no wrong way to do this. Here's some more donut holes. Donut hole there. Donut hole there. One there. And there we go. Okay. Now for these, I'll just cover them with a clean. And we'll let these set for just about 40 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. We'll check them after about 20 minutes. And we'll just put them in a nice warm place. Like I say, this takes a while, but it's really pretty not that hard. Okay. Now, while we're I wix my merge, but I always do it enthusiastically. All right, next thing we're going to do is to make some glaze for these donuts. So what are donuts without glaze? Oh. Again, we'll get a mixer. All right. Now, really the only difference between a glaze and a frosting is most of the time frosting's a lot thicker. Okay. What we have here, I'll get everything out here for you, see how easy this is. Okay, we got 2 cups of powdered sugar. That goes right in there. Next thing we do, we got about 4 tablespoons of milk and just a dash of vanilla and 1/3 of a cup of butter. That's, and we just mix that up. As you see, it's coming together. All right. We did all the time do now, just it out. And then these hot donuts are going to go into this glaze. And it's been 1 minute. We'll do about another 20 seconds. See how easy this is? So a minute, 20 seconds, 1 minute, 30 seconds at the most. Okay, now it's done, finished. Okay, we'll put a flat dish because that makes it very easy for dipping. And we'll just it looks a little thick, but when you put those hot donuts in it, it sort of thins out naturally. Okay, that's our glaze. All right. Now, the next thing we need to do is get ready to cook these things. So we'll get this out of the way. And again, I'm going to use an electric frying pan. If you don't have an electric frying pan, you can just use a heavy duty pan. All right. And we want this about 330 degrees. We're not frying chicken. If you fry chicken, or chicken nuggets, you want that about 360 to 370. But this we only want about 330. So 330, and we'll get our cooking oil. And we'll put, you can see that? It's about halfway up. And we'll tune it up to 330. And when the donuts are ready, we'll start cooking these delicious donuts up. All right, they were about 20 minutes. So see how these are now? Okay, our oil is about 330 degrees, and we'll just very gently, 1, 2.
Now that oil is boiling hot.
Very hot. So the big people should do this. Little people shouldn't do this. Okay, we only want to cook about 4 at a time, and they only need to be cooked about 1.5 minutes on each side because we want them a nice golden brown. We don't want them really, really dark. So they work. This is going to work pretty good. So
you spoon the oil over at the top of them?
I did. You don't necessarily have to do that. We don't have to do that. All right, so we'll check and look at about 1.5 minutes. And what we're doing is that we do not want to cook them too fast. If you put it on too high a heat, then what happens is that they get cooked on the outside, so they'll be really, really dark brown on the outside, and not quite as right in the. So those are just about perfect, not quite. We're just looking for a golden tan, you know, just like, and you're gonna be surprised how good these are. All right. So again, I just keep checking them. After you've done it, then you get, oh, look at that. Look at that. That's what we're looking for. So if I think I'm one of those stopwatch there, about 1 minute, and it should be pretty good. Look at those. Look at those.
That oil is boiling.
Yeah, it's really hot. It's really hot. So that's why we only put 4 at a time in, because that way it keeps the temperature at right about 330. If you put too many in, then it's going to, like I say, we're almost there, almost there. See, even with 4 donuts, the temperature cooled just a little bit. So what we'll do is that we'll take these out, and then we'll just wait just to cool off just a little bit, and then we'll put them in the glaze.
Now, keeping them so that oil doesn't cool down helps them not to taste greasy.
That's right. That's right. You don't want them to be too greasy. Well, that looks pretty good. Okay, what I'll do now is I'll let that rest about a minute, and then we'll put it in the glaze. So, and here's the glaze. Now, as we see, there's other options you can have. Now, when you get them done, this is when little kids can come back, and I have a glaze here, but also they could use frosting or things like that. And they could decorate them. They could put sprinkles all over them, or they could put some frosting, and then put some M&Ms. And they could use, just be very, kids are very, very creative. So at this point, especially the little ones, this is where the little ones can join you, and they can help decorate. That's really all there is to it. Oh, these are light and crispy.
Oh, so you put the glaze on both sides?
Yeah, I like to do it, yeah. Then double your money. Oh, these are so light.
How did you make the glaze?
Well, we did that. Remember, that's when we used the powdered sugar.
Oh, that's right.
We've done that. Okay. So basically, as soon as you take them out, just wait about 30 seconds. And then the harder they are, the easier it is to glaze. Okay, what we're going to do now is that we'll cook up the rest of these, and then we'll come back when they're all done, okay? Okay, as you see, this is what we have. We had the glazed donuts, and then also I had some extra frosting. So I had some, this is a chocolate frosting, and this is a mint frosting. And then here we had some strawberry frosting. And here we had some maple bars. And then what I did with the donut holes, I just took the donut hole, and all I did is just roll them around in sugar. So, well, there you have it. That was our experiment with donuts. Now, as I warned you before, it took us about 4 hours to do this process. But relatively, it's not really that difficult. And again, at the very end, be a good chance for your children, and for your children, you can able to help decorate this thing.
This has been fun, hasn't it? And what a long afternoon, but a delicious one. You know, all this time, my elves are out, scouting out, looking for good little children and bad little children. We found a few naughty ones, but mostly we found some really good ones. And when they report to me, I report to Santa.
Yes, and I just found out that Calvin, he'd been working on his guitar really hard, and now Calvin can play zippity-doo-dah. So congratulations, Calvin. And then next week, I think what we're going to cook, we are going to cook some gummy bears. Won't that be fun? See you next week.
Bye.